Hey guys, welcome back and welcome to Psalm 43. I loved what the Passion Translation did on the side of this scripture. I love the one that they chose to illustrate. So I kind of just expounded on that thought. And it says over there on that right-hand page, pour into me the brightness of your daybreak. And that's Psalm 43:3, the Passion Translation. So I love that brightness, and that brightness, we've done a lantern already. So I thought, oh my goodness, what about if we were to do a lighthouse? And, a lighthouse with rocks and just the tumultuousness of waves crashing down around, because sometimes life gets just a little bit rocky, and but we know that when we stand on the rock, that He can pour the brightness of His daybreak into us. Like what? So in my little world here, I imagine that He's like pouring down His grace, His love, His mercy, His strength, and that I'm almost like catching it in that top part of that lighthouse there, and bringing that down into my very core and my very existence in those windows that are going to become yellow. So that's my translation of the psalm as I kind of explored it this week. I want to mention that when I first came in here, though, that white that I put on, I know that I don't usually use white, but that is a gouache, and it just comes out a little bit, it comes out with a little bit more color. It comes out like a little bit creamy and very opaque. So I wanted that for the lighthouse. So I did almost break my own rules and use a white gouache on those pieces of the White House. So, and then I'm just kind of having a challenge getting my black. It wants to not really pop. So I just kind of came in a couple of times with the black paint there just to get it to, kapow a little bit. So that's kind of like my head, I guess, where I'm kind of capturing His grace in that will be yellow. That little square is going to become yellow eventually. So I did put down a little bit of absorbent ground this week. I was doing a couple of pages with just the clear gesso this week. I really want every page in my Bible to have a drawing on it. So if I don't, I do one a week for us here in this group, but then during the course of the week, I go in and I do extra pictures on the other pages and reflect on them. So I just had a booger of a week. I did 2 extra illustrations in my Bible, and man, that just beaded right up, and I was beside myself. So I thought, I cannot do 3 illustrations this week with that kind of a mess. So you see how the page is just a little bit cloudy. That's because I do have a little layer of that absorbent ground on, and I do like working with the absorbent ground. It's more expensive to put down the clear gesso and then the absorbent ground, but man, how delightful to paint on it. Just really delightful to paint on it. I'm going to attach the wave video that we did to the end of this video, because we did a whole there was like a circle, and I do not remember what psalm it was, but we did a circle and it had all these kind of waves like this with just these lines. So this was a really fun one. I was having such a time to get a visual picture of what to do, because I loved the picture that they had chosen. I love the scripture aspect of the psalm that the author had chosen, and kind of did that little illustration on the right. And I was kind of trying to remake the wheel and try to refigure out what I was going to do. And finally I was just like, well, Lord, I like that part of it. So let's just expound on that aspect of what's already on the page. So this one will kind of move over. I think you saw in the opening shots that it will move over, and this will become like a 2-page spread. But I really enjoyed this one. It was a booger to kind of get to, but get the picture in my head so that I could get it out. But then once it all kind of started to flow, I like it. I enjoyed it. I like how I like the imagery behind it. So rocks are a crazy thing. You know how you do rocks? You do rocks by really not paying any attention to them whatsoever and just casting a small glance down at them and just coloring them in. You can't give them any kind of attention to detail because they just demand that you just kind of go in and slap on some paint and then sort of take some out. So you see how there's just not a lot. I have some shadows in where the water would be, so it's going to cast a shadow. If one's in front of the other, the one that's behind it gets a little bit of a shadow. But that's it. Don't you pay more than 3 seconds on those rocks. Don't you dare. So that one over there, I feel like that one looks a little bit wonky, that one that's coming up on the left. So I'm going to pop in a little bit more water spray. There I am. You see? Because it just looked too thin, or I don't know, something was just wonky with it. So on my water bubbles, the parts that are splashing out, those, like, I don't know, organic kind of Rorschach blobs, that's exactly what I did. I kind of just imagined that water kind of like it almost becomes a form when it splashes out. You know, there's all these like little loops and swirls and all of this kind of stuff that happens as the water splashes out. So I tried to capture those like organic kind of forms of water in motion. I have just laid down, you see how I very loosely put in the blue and then lots of like white negative space in between it to kind of capture where the sun is kind of glimpsing up as it comes up. The sun is grabbing hold of it, and just very loose, very loose. I am going to come in and pop in more, because you see now the way that it looks right now is that it's all kind of just in that mid-tone. It's just all sort of right smack dab in the middle, and there's nothing that makes you like, what? That, wow, right? There's nothing that just pops at you. So that's what we're going to start doing now, is we've got kind of a good ground layer, but now we're going to start popping in a little bit of the kapow. So wow, just look at that. What? Look at how that just makes it pop out. Isn't that crazy? So so many times people say, I don't like mine, I don't like it, it doesn't look like yours. Well, I'm just going to say, check your values. Check and make sure that you've got a dark and you've got a white, that you've got, and you go from the full gamut, from that dark to that lightest light. Because if you're running the full gamut of value in your painting or your illustration, I promise you it's going to be dynamic. I promise you. Most times people do not like what they're creating, because it just once you get that first layer of paint down, you're stopping right there and you're saying, okay, I'm done. Go back in and get those shadows poppy, and then I promise you you're just gonna walk away and think that you were just Van Gogh. I promise you that. So look at that water even when you just pop in those darks. Like, can you just see it? I know, it's amazing. It's just fun stuff. So I wanted that black rock back there, because you figure, like, if there's a rock that's in the way back, it's just going to be dark as dark can be. So I just thought I'd pop that in there to just again give that difference of value. I really wanted my black, so I'm coming back in and I'm trying to get it to do what I want it to do. It did, so I can forgive it. But still, even, you know that I always come in and I will do color pencils at the very end. So here I am. This is a very light wash, like it has a lot of water in it, so I'm using a great big brush and I'm just putting in a light wash of it almost looks like a little bit of a stormy sky, you know. And you see how I'm not like doing it complete. Here it gets very tricky in there. I have to actually let it drip down out, but I'm leaving it as a very light wash, because with clouds and a summer sky, there's just this all sort of just all these different gradients in the sky and the value. So that's what I want to get. I don't want it to just be like this like blue paint that I just, you know, rake on there. So leave it visually stimulating, where there's just lots of different like darkers and lighter values kind of dipping in and out of the sky. I used a very, very light color. Usually what you can do, a really easy way to make clouds with watercolor is lay down your blue, you know, and then wad up a paper towel, but you got to make it like a messy wad up. Don't like fold it neatly. You got to like crimple it up in your hand. And then if you just press out a little bit of that blue that you laid in the sky, it sort of just, it extracts the paint out of the sky, and you wind up with a cloud. So really easy way to do a cloud without having to think a whole lot. You love that, right? You just love that. So and I did not bleed through. Like, I'm always nervous about my pages that something's going to bleed through on the other side, but I didn't. So I am good. It all stayed exactly where it was supposed to. So this is the problem with Prismacolors. I'm coming in with my indigo pencil, and then I got it to such a beautiful point, and then it broke. So then I sharpened it again, and I could not get it all the way sharpened. And then even I grab another indigo pencil, and even that one breaks. So that is, I love Prismacolors. I mean, I do, but oh, they're so fragile nowadays. I don't know, their production standards have gone down, so they're just so fragile, and they often break. You often lose a whole lot of pencil to just breakage. So look how fun that's starting to come out, isn't it? You know, you got to throw in your splashes. You got to. I think there's laws about it. You got to get those little doohickeys in there. I forgot the birds. You know, in the doodle sheet, I had all these little seagulls. So I'm going to go back in and put my seagulls in because I forgot them. So that's a black pencil. I'm just outlining it, and doesn't that just make it really kind of pop? And the windows, I just popped it. I put a shadow in on the right side of the windows only. I really made it darker. So I'm putting a little bit of shadow on those rocks. I'm not even thinking about it though. I'm just kind of laying it in and kind of making them just be rocky, you know, like rocks have all these like weird angles and juts and pieces missing, and it's a whole crazy thing, a rock. Shading in just a little bit so that tower looks like it's rounded. There she is. When I'm shading in on that side, I'm not going straight across. I'm rounding my lines as if I'm going with the roundness of the tower. I'm popping in that little bit of white up. It doesn't work in that part so well, but in the wavy part, I can kind of get it. That's using a white Signo jelly roll. Whoop, there you go. You know, I got to put my zigzags in, so I'm just putting in my zigzags. These are the little places that I like to kind of play and have some fun. So all my little zigzags are going in. And then I'm even going to put them on the lighthouse, because why would you not? Here I'm just popping in a little bit of white colored pencil in circles to sort of just make it look frothy, you know, kind of fluid in motion. So this is where I break the next indigo pencil. Like, come on, come on. So I'm doing good, I'm doing good, I'm doing good. And I think on the word bright, somewhere in here, I lose it all. Oh, there it is. I told you it's gonna happen. You know it's gonna happen. And then actually there I picked up a black. Do you see it says bright is in blue and then Ness is in black? But you gotta love me because God says so. And if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't even have known. Am I right? So isn't that the sweetest? I love it, I love it, I love it. Got to get my little black zigzags in, because why would you not? Am I right? And I gotta put my little lines. Yeah, that's it, guys. That is. Oh, I lied to you. I do that. You gotta watch out for me. I am sneaky. Putting in my sun, and then truly, 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 I am going to call this one done. I'll see you Psalm 44 next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.